Welcome to RaspberrySky Straight Talking series. I am delighted to introduce to you Riko van Santen, the CIO of Kempinski Hotels. Welcome, Riko.
Thank you, Sally. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for joining. Before we start, could you just give us a quick overview of Kempinski Hotels?
Sure. Kempinski Hotels, we are the oldest European luxury hotel company. We're based in Geneva, and we oversee just under 80 properties in primarily Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. But we do also have some beautiful properties in the Caribbean.
Help us understand, Riko, what your digital customer journey looks like today.
As a luxury company, it's important to meet and exceed expectations of our guests. So the pre-arrival, to get as much information as possible without being too intrusive, and to really prepare for his or her stay in our properties. Then, of course, the property itself, the arrival, the sense of arrival is very important. From a digital perspective, that comes to our touch points with our property management systems, our key card systems, our door lock systems, and of course the payments or the prepayment process. And then during the stay, I think the digital journey also now includes various touch points within our outlets. So in our restaurants or in our spa facilities, of course, we have point of sales terminals. We have also information that we need to ensure we can provide personalized services or preferences to our guests. For F&B, for example, and something that has sped up now during the current situation is digitalization of menus. Moving and providing an option to physical menus, so not a replacement, but an alternative option that is touchless.
So your digital customer journey, as I understand it, is kind of around your app. So you have a loyalty app, a Kempinski app, which is downloaded by the guest, and all of these digital interactions are managed through the app, correct?
Our approach is mobile centric because we believe the device is really in every guest's pockets. And I think that's also a way that we want to give the touch points to the guests, so that if the guest wants to change information about their profile, for example, if they want to look up reservations, those things I think are pretty straightforward. But what we see also in the future is a new technology, an emerging technology. The best medium to deliver this and to have that communication with our guests is through our mobile app.
So today through the app, I understand that they can obviously get the pre-arrival information, but they can check in through the app and they can choose their room. Is that correct? Through the app?
Not fully yet. Yeah, we are working on that because there's also a dependency of the door lock systems, and I think that's something that when we do pre-check-ins, we want to do that end to end. So we are developing key card technology solutions, but that of course depends on investments done in the hotels on the door lock technology. I think there's also a difference in how we can call pre-arrival, because pre-check-in we can do pre-check-in services, but in certain countries there's also requirements in terms of passport scanning. So that is something that we are working to build into the app. So that's an area that it's not live in all the hotels yet, but something that's being worked on. And I think that's also going to change because to what extent and how far can we provide those services in terms of checking in? What does that really mean for check-in? Does that mean prepayment? And prepayment is a big area we're investing in to develop technology to say that if a guest from China comes and their preference of payment is WeChat payment, that should be in that pre-check-in process, pre-arrival process, if the guest wants to pay. Because some guests, we want to give them the choice: do they want to prepay or do they want to post-pay? So that a lot of that comes together with that entire checking-in process as well.
What are your sort of biggest challenges with sort of the digitalization of the customer journey? What are the barriers that you have today in terms of making that frictionless for the customer?
How do we find the balance between intrusive and complementary, complementing services? So from a guest, we would love to get a lot of information. We would love to get as much as we can, but of course, with privacy regulations and with GDPR, we need to make sure we have the guest's consent. We were positively surprised with the number of consents that they provide. For example, for can we save more information than just the reservations details?
Right. Okay.
How can we complement that profile with more information that the guest is ready to share with us? Because the more information we have about the guest, the more we can offer the experience. So I think that's one area, is to juggle sort of like how can we get information, but of course we need to be within the realms of legal compliance. So that's a juggling act. But the other area, I think, Sally, that I would say is a challenge, but at the same time an opportunity, technology-wise, is for all the journeys we talked about, the guest journey, so that what the guest sees, every step has a reflection in the back of house.
Yeah.
So talk about, the websites, the first interaction online, how they have a pre-arrival, how they come to the hotel, how they check in, how they stay in the hotel, all those digital touch points has a reflection back of house. And I think the challenge is, just like we want to make that seamless for the guest, so that if we know information from one touch point, that information feeds all the touch points. So the guest knows if he's or she has given her preferences, we know this, whether it's in our loyalty system, whether it's for our food and beverage outlet, whether it's for the front desk or the concierge. But how do we do that back of house? Because traditionally, hospitality systems have been very different, and you have many different best in breed solution providers for each step. So also the employees, we believe, is very important, is how can we make sure that we can provide tools to the employee that is also synchronized, that is also seamless and frictionless as much as possible, so that if one department is gathering information or working on profile of our guests or trying to deliver that moment, special moment for our guests, how can we make sure that reflects across the other departments? Our hotel represents Kempinski. Whether they're in a restaurant or in the lobby or in the room or at the door, the entrance, it's a Kempinski experience. And we want to make sure that we can provide the back of house tools also in the same seamless experience. So just like we have a guest facing app, what we talked about, we believe the same philosophy applies for our employees, that we need to have an app-centric approach so that we can also have all those tools, at least with a common denominator and a touch point with an app.
Because I understand for the internal staff app, you're using WhatsApp for Business. Is that right? You've already got that. You're already testing that. Is that right?
Yeah, we do use WhatsApp for Business, but this would then take that a bit further, because WhatsApp is WhatsApp, and that's only one means.
Component of it, yeah.
And that might not work in other regions of the world. So we need to find a neutral approach to say that we want to make sure that we have an app that can be interactive more for employees, but that can integrate those services as well. So if you are communicating to guests, you have that on your phone, but internally we can have also our internal communications medium that works regardless of where the hotel is.
Yeah, I guess the complexities for you are kind of, and I'm not sure if they're more complex because of the luxury portfolio, but, obviously you've still got the technology challenges in terms of uniformity and what elements of that you can digitalize. But also, I guess for me, a question is, does the luxury guest really want a digital journey, a total digital journey, or components that they can slice and dice into as they need? It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's something that, we talked about check-in kiosks once, and I think that's also one of these elements to say that would never replace our reception and we have our lady in red. So I think the human factor is very important, especially in the luxury business.
Yeah,
I expect that. And we like to deliver that. But I think technology can be an alternative. If that businesswoman traveler coming in at 11:30 at night, late flight, they don't want to talk, they want to go straight to their room. Yes, then maybe an automated booking process might suffice and might be actually a better luxury experience than the traditional checking in process. But for other guests, they appreciate that. They want to interact. They want to understand what there is to do in the city. So it also depends on the type of guest and the reason and the purpose of the visit. And that's also where we believe that the guest intelligence can help, because if we know preferences of the guests, when do they prefer this touch points, not only for the check-in process, but other examples, then we can really give a more tailored luxury experience. It's the same with preferences. If we just have that Sally Richards likes red wine, but we actually realize that you only order red wine when you're traveling with your partner, there's a big difference in that.
And champagne otherwise.
Champagne. So the better we know what you want, or depending, when you're traveling for business, versus when you're traveling for leisure, your requirements or your wishes might be very different. And I think that's where technology can play a role. But to your point, it's not going to replace the human touch. We will still deliver that luxury experience while you're in our hotel. But it's to see how can we provide technology. And I think more and more people are tech savvy. People, everybody has mobile phones, smartphones. So the expectation is to say that if they want to do this through technology, that we embrace this and we provide those solutions as well.
So it's all about offering choice, isn't it? Depending on the type of hotel, in terms of, is it corporate versus leisure versus the customer, etc., and overlaying all of that. It's really interesting, Riko. Thank you very much for your time and giving us some insights. I really appreciate it.